What is going on, collectors? Optical 20 back for another video review. Today we are going to take a look at John Wick 4 from Hot Toys, and it is currently sold out, but I'll put the link anyway because if you shop at Big Bad, they do random drops here and there, so who knows, this might go back in in stock, so I'll post it too. So if you're not subscribed, make sure you are, because I post it anytime I see some weird random stuff at Big Bad Toy Store. But let's take a look at this packaging. It is kind of dark, I'm not gonna lie. I'm not a big fan of this packaging, but it's consistent with Kane and the theme of John Wick 4 Paris, kind of cathedral type. And let's unbox this guy. So full disclosure, I do have John Wick Part 2 as well. I am debating whether I should only keep one John Wick. We'll see towards the end. They are space is more of an issue for me, but that John Wick has been heavily modified, and a lot of effort has been put into that John Wick. So we'll see if this holds up compared to that John Wick 2 that is pretty much a different figure altogether. But this guy right here, this is not the special edition. The special edition comes with an extra M4, I believe. So this is just the regular. It's been sold out everywhere, and the price has been shooting up on eBay. So even though this is not the special edition, I'm happy to have him. I have, like I said, I have John Wick 2, so I don't have any shortage of rifles. So he does have one here. Put in the comment below, what kind of gun is this? This looks like I don't know, it has looks like, is that an EOTech scope? They don't specify. Initially with the barrel, I was like, is this like an automatic shotgun? But of course not, because it does have a magazine. So I don't know. Let me know in the comments. It does have some nunchucks, the swappable hairpiece that he does have, and then 2 arrows to hold up to his bow. Spoiler alert, he is very poseable, so you could pose him in an arrow holding type of pose without looking awkward, because that's always like an awkward situation. Now he got that coins. I have a lot of those coins already. And then he does have his handgun, which is nicely detailed as well, if my camera focuses. But we are going to take a closer look on that on the accessories anyway. But yeah, let's take a look. So one thing I like about John Wick, and this is true even on the John Wick 2, the first version of that, is it feels like his hands are tailor-made for Keanu Reeves. This is not, you'll never find these hands on Thor. They're also a bit bigger. Also missing finger here from John Wick 2. He does have a ring, so you can easily identify which one is which. But like I said, this is my expectations when it comes to hands. Unlike that Indiana Jones that recently released, this is his bow holding hand, and this is even an older figure compared to that Indiana Jones, but this one at least covers the hand peg for the most part. And you got the nunchucks here, beautifully done. This is not made out of wood, made out of plastic, but the grain looks pretty cool, and it's metallic, at least the chains in there. And you got specific hands to hold specific items. This is the sword. Again, this is not die cast, made out of plastic. This would not focus for the life of me, but you can see the handle of his is it a sword or samurai? I don't really know the difference. Let me know in the comments. But yeah, it's made out of plastic. The blade itself has some chips on it. I'm pretty sure that is they did it on purpose. And this one is his bow, pretty standard. That's where you hold him, the bow. And this is the rifle that I said earlier. You can see the bullet there, magazine, nicely done. I don't know, what is this? This looks kind of, I don't know, man. I play a lot of I play a lot of Call of Duty, but I'm not aficionado like that. The stock goes back and forth. Oh, look at that. The chamber opens up. It says gun 13. Nicely done. You're gonna add this into your hopefully you have the Asmus gun rack or weapons rack. That's what I have. But for my John Wick, I specifically have the Crow Customs acrylic display. Shout out to Crow Customs. Hopefully he does one for John Wick 2. You got some coins in there. That's and this is towards the end of the movie when he had the duel versus Kane. I don't even know what you call this gun. Like the just manual gun. You put it out there. Nicely detailed. You can see there's some carving on the inner side. That's beautiful. Even the handle, the wood handle there. And this is the handgun that he does have. What is it? A Viper. I don't know the model. Looks like a SIG. It retracts like this, so if you want him to look like he just ran out of bullets, and you can remove the magazine as well, put it back in. There you go. But yeah, I mean, do you always get your money's worth as far as accessories and weapons with John Wick? It feels like John Wick 2 has more array of firepower, but he comes here he comes with a bow and arrow, nunchucks, and sword. So as far as tailoring, this is, I would say, the biggest improvement out of all the John Wicks that we've seen. This looks phenomenal. And it doesn't tug and pull as well when it comes to his suit, so that is a big plus for me. It does have this crosshatch pattern all over the suit, and the suit, it has some minor details that you might miss. That is a welcome addition, like the buttons right there. Look at that. It's just sitting perfectly suited, tailored in here, just sitting on top of his shoe. Also, the buttons on the sleeves on John Wick 2, those are kind of like sticker type. And then if you hold them the wrong way, or if you're changing hands, they're prone to dropping off. Not in here, because they are like real buttons. And also on the back here, I don't know, for some reason it just feels like this is more forgiving, because it's John Wick. You have a lot of movements, and then back then with John Wick 2, the suit kind of hinders that to a certain degree. I can still pull it off, but you always have this fear of tugging and pulling of the thread in his suit. So it feels like, hey, I am gonna rip something, but not on here. In here, it feels luxurious. You got the suit. Now let's jump into the head sculpt. This is a controversial one because a lot of people are saying he looks like an animated version. Now, this is not the best. I couldn't find like an open mouth Keanu Reeves, but I'm pretty satisfied with this. Easily better compared to John Wick version 2. That one, I would give it a 7 as far as likeness, maybe even a 6.5. This one is a solid 8.5. I mean, it's still not perfect. Make no mistake about it. Still, there's a lot of room for improvement. And I would also want to see J&D tackle this figure, because John Wick, I don't know, is one of my favorite figures out there. And I wouldn't mind getting a higher end version of this. But until then, I am pretty satisfied with Hot Toys put out here. This is the version where the hair is a little bit more tamed, for the most part. His hair is like this. This is, you can swap out the front plate of his hair. So this is kind of more dynamic, where you can see, it's like strands of hair flying in the air. Maybe he's doing some action motion. So I really don't mind the open mouth, because I want him to look like he is not bored, like that 1,000 miles death stare that they do have. Speaking of death stare, he won't have that because he does have rolling eyeball system. The hair is long enough, and you could also remove the back part of the hair, and that's how you access his rolling eyeball system. But be careful. As you can see, the back of his hair is long enough that it's touching his collar and a better part of his suit in the back. And they are a little sharp. So I'm pretty sure if you're moving the neck up, if he's looking up, those back portions of the hair, the tips at least, would touch the fabric and might create those micro, not tears, but you would see some wool going out, some fabric and all that stuff. And you put him here and that looks great as well. So it is up to you on what look you want to get yourself into. And this is the back part. When you remove the back of his hair, you can see this is the back part. And those joysticks, you could use the tool or just use your finger. I'll just use my finger. Articulation wise, this is pretty good, like I said. So this is one piece with neck and head sculpt. You can raise his arm forward, not a big deal right there. Pretty easy. You just need to just kind of adjust the suit here and there. That is magnetic inside his vest. So the suit itself has wires around it. So it gives you more dynamic options. You could raise this, it's a bit nerve-wracking in the beginning, but you could. Look, see that beautiful hand right there. It almost covers the entirety of the ball joint that you see. That's how it's supposed to be. They've already done this a while back, and this is him. You can see if he wants to reach on his back, maybe reaching for a magazine or something. You can rotate the hips, his lower waist right there. You got some bicep swivel. You can raise his feet all the way up there and it's not gonna tear. Like I said, the suit is a bit forgiving. The thread on his shoe, which is none. You can bend the knees all the way back down there. It is a good looking figure, man. And again, it's supposed to be articulated. John Wick does a lot of action stuff, so you want him kind of, being as dynamic as you could. And speaking of dynamic, we're gonna put him in some poses here. This is from John Wick 2. I don't know why I chose this background. I just running out of ideas here. But yeah, this is raining. He's out there. You can see his suit, because it is wired. You can have it in this kind of pose where it looks like he's running one way and then it's flying the other way. This is as much dynamic as you can get. You can't really make this it's a suit. Depending on what suit you have, this is really nicely tailored to him. Beautifully done. This is him with his sword, with his we'll just call it a samurai, his nunchucks. You have specific hands for a specific type of weapons, so you're not gonna have a shortage of that. This is not even the right hand for the nunchucks, but it works. I love that scene as well when they're in this glass room in Japan Continental. I rewatched the movie as well. So it's pretty good. Not John Wick 1, but I like the entire John Wick universe. So I don't care. I'm excited for Ballerina as well. I would buy nobody. Honestly, I don't think anyone will, but I will, because Kane didn't even sell. And this is him. Look at this pose right here with his bow and arrow. That is pretty tight. I watched the Sideshow unboxing, and they tried this, and it's not. They tried a pretty poor rendition of this, but him holding the bow is pretty extended. This is how you pose it. He's shooting up because they were in the rooftop. This is basically, he used this in the rooftop scene. But look at that. That is a good extension right there. I'm impressed on how much articulation you can get. You can also display him, this final duel with Kane. I don't know why I'm using his left hand. I think he used his left hand in the movie too. You could remove the suit, the three-piece suit, and he looks great right next to Kane. There's not a whole lot of John Wick figures out there, to a point where we can even call him a one-off. But I love how he looks, and this is him next to my John Wick version 2. John Wick 2. This John Wick 2, that's not his head sculpt. That is a Max Knot head sculpt. with some Crow custom belt. Uh, there's a custom on the base as well, like the gold plaque. I mean the nameplate plaque. So this is heavily modified. But if you're planning like myself to keep both, I think you can make a valid argument because John Wick 2 looks totally different. Aside from the fact that I heavily modified it, but the suit looks different. You know, it's still a three-piece suit, but it's different. You know, you got the black shirt inside, which is kind of like the beginning of John Wick 4 anyway. So I think you can get away with it. But final thoughts on John Wick 4. I think, well, now it's kind of like a bad time because I think the price has kind of shot up. But he didn't pre-order this. You're going to have some options down the line with J&D, but I'm assuming that version is going to be like, if not twice, 3 times more expensive than this John Wick. It'll be better. It'll be better, I feel like. But of course, it's going to be so much more expensive. This is a good looking figure. Not great, but good. I like it. I have no regrets whatsoever. I'm happy to add him in the collection. If you can still get one for a pretty decent price, and if you're a fan of John Wick, I would highly recommend this. Highly. Again, it's not perfect. A lot of people criticize the head sculpt. I don't see the animated version, to be quite honest with you. That's most of the feedback I got once I made a video when it was released. I don't get that. I don't get that impression at all. I think the head sculpt is pretty solid. Not the best rendition, but pretty solid nonetheless. I'm happy with it. I'm really happy with how it turned out. But I want to hear your thoughts on this. Am I just being blinded here of my fandom with John Wick? Because they painted it like it's a bad looking figure, and it's far from that. There's a lot of good things happening here. And I'm pretty satisfied with the hair, how it turned out. It reminds me of the Pattinson Batman. Would a rooted hair be nice? Of course, but this is what we got for now, and I'm happy with it. But let me know in the comments how you feel. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one.